Hello! My name is Sarah, and today I will be reviewing the book Inhuman by Cat Falls. This reaction is not because it was a bad book. It was amazing. It's just that major spoilers. So for those who haven't read it, you do not know my pain. So, Inhuman, it's almost like the world where the gamekeepers for Hunger Games decided to drop off their little evil creature designed mutants into the TV show world of Revolution. That would make an amazing TV show, by the way. So it's like 20 years in the future, not that far away. A virus got loose, started infecting people all over the country. Again, no surprise, America is just this close away from causing the zombie apocalypse. So, a giant wall about 700 feet was built up and down the Mississippi, splitting the country in half. So it's like everyone who managed to get to the west live and prosper, while they believe people on the east have mutated or died off. And so this girl named Lane, she finds out her dad has been going back and forth over the wall, which is illegal, and in order to save him, she has to do what's called a fetch, which means she needs to go over the wall, collect something, and bring it back, or if she doesn't make it in this time set, her dad will be executed if he ever sneaks back to the west. So she has to go to Chicago, get this item and get back. So, and she has these two guys, Everson and Rave, who come along, and so it's like, you know, the three amigos. And that's as much as I can say for non-spoilers. So if you like the TV show Revolution, read it. If you like the world of Hunger Games and were interested in the little creatures the game makers came up with, read it. So yeah, and 2016, we've made it to the halfway point. So when's the next book gonna come out? So yeah, Inhuman, if you haven't read it, read it. You will love it. It's over like close to 400 pages, so it will be a quick read and you just won't want to put it down. So bye, non-spoilers. I'm gonna have to save these hateful feelings for later in this review because I will just be crying again. So yeah, Lane, she lives on the west side of the wall where everyone's like germophobics because, you know, the virus thing, you know, wash your hands, stay clean, don't get sick, because her mom got sick with cancer, and before she died, everyone like shunned her and her father, so people are afraid of germs. Kids, a little lazy, they now do like online classes and stuff because, you know, people don't want to go outside. So it starts off with Lane and her friends sending like a little robot helicopter across the wall to get pictures, but it gets shot down, and they go to a party, and basically their form what is it, the CDC? No, that's not it. But you know, the government viruses and stuff. I can't think of the name right now. Breaks up the party, and they take her, and everyone thinks that she's infected with Furia, which is what the people 20 years ago were infected with. And so they take her, and it turns out she doesn't have it. And this woman who's in charge of it, her name's Dr. Sperling, and she's blackmailing Lane because they find out her father is the fetch. A fetch is a person that is paid to go over the wall and collect items to bring it back. One thing that kind of tipped people off was that her dad collected valuable art that was lost to the east, and her dad Lane thought her dad was a art dealer. So Dr. Sperling has video of her dad going through a tunnel, and she's telling Lane that she has 5 days to find her dad and make sure he completes the fetch that she's assigning her before the tunnel is sealed up, and by then, if her dad ever comes back to the west, he will be executed, which is bad. So she sends Lane, a teenager girl who her only experience to surviving is through classes, but she did just because her dad insisted. And so she just gets thrown out to the underneath the wall, because like there's a little tunnel underneath. And the first thing she sees is a bunch of dead skeletons. Yeah, that would probably make me want to run back. But she eventually gets out the tunnel and goes to Arsenal Island, which is like the guard line to where guards go to protect the wall. And it's there she meets Everson, who's a soldier, and he's a good soldier. He's like the ideal soldier. He follows orders, but he also wants to do good for the people. He's like a medic as well, wanting to find a cure. You can see he's a good person because he manages to get a little girl and the man she brought from the east in after testing them, and they were clean. So Lane finds out her dad's not at Arsenal Island, and that he might be at Moline, which is a city a few miles out, because he's known to give the citizens of Moline medicine, because some of them are starting to turn feral, which are humans that have finally succumbed to the virus and go insane like animals. And while she's at Arsenal Island, she meets Rave, who is a kid who's grown up on the east. He's human, but he's wild, funny, like he is really funny. And he locks Lane and Everson in a closet and takes off. We will see him again. So after Lane and Everson manage to get out of the closet, her only chance to get to Moline is when the soldiers throw another soldier who's been infected with Faria, and he tries to jump back over the fence, and they shoot him. And during that commotion, Lane manages to sneak through and takes off to Moline. Well, she meets Rave again when he's in the middle of killing what Lane and everyone else calls manimals. People who look like animals but still have their human minds. They have a degree of Faria in them, but they haven't gone feral, so they don't know how long they have. Could be days or years. So she knocks Rave out accidentally and frees the Tiger Man, and his name is Chorda. So he's saying, no one would do that. You have a human heart. And she's like, you mean humane? Yes, humane. So Chorda runs off when Rave gets his conscience back and he becomes conscious again. And he helps Lane to Moline when he finds out that she is Mac's daughter. So everyone knows Mac. He's the one that brings the medicine to the town and stuff. And in doing so, they meet a girl who tells them about a rogue feral who took her sister, and it turns out that Rave was the one hunting this feral, because it's known to it's been kidnapping people and ripping out their hearts, and it's been going around towns every once in a while and disappearing, so it's hard to track it. And when Lane gets to Moline, she finds out it's a town full of people with manimals. She meets a guy who looks like a hog, a guy who's like part seal and stuff. It's just, they say be careful of the ones who have reptile in them, because they can turn a little faster. So they get there, she meets the leader of Moline, and they say, your father Mac? Yeah, he left a day ago. We missed her father by a day, and now we have no clue where he is. There's no way she's gonna finish the fetch in time. So she's like, oh, damn it. And Rave is like, you need to go to Chicago, right? I'll do the fetch for you. It's like, why? Mac's like a father figure to me, and she first accuses of him, like, is Mac your dad? Like, no. But he's like, a father to me, like, oh wait, if we were brother and sister, then Lane, back up, we cannot do this. So, Mortal Instruments, but thank God they're not brother and sister, or this would have ruined everything. But so, yeah, Rave prepares to go to Chicago when Everson manages to trick his captain, and by tricking he blackmails his captain and should go into Malene, and there he meets Lane, and he intends to take her back, but she sees the Jeep and Rafe is handcuffed in the back, and she's like, "Hey people, I'm Mac's daughter." "What? I need the Jeep." "Okay." And they attack Everson and the soldiers that are with them. She takes the Jeep with Raph handcuffed in the back, and Everson's like, "Wait, we might find some strains out there." And strains meaning DNA strains of those with Faria, because they need 40 strands to make a cure. So he gets in there with this little medical bag and like, "Onward to Chicago." And Rave is like, "We are so screwed." So they take off to Chicago, and they get stuck in the middle of the night, and that's where we kind of see one of the creatures called weavelings, half bat, half piranha. I have no clue why someone thought of that species, because the creatures, the mutts, as in a way, they're like a mixed DNA strand of animals, and then when they mate, more DNA strands happen. So these were the creatures that started the fires in the first place. And so yeah, Rave, Everson, and Lane, they manage to find some place to hide, and the weavelings go off doing their little thing, and then they meet another animal named Cosmo. Not yet. Cosmo, he looks like a little ape in his overalls, like a grayish fur, and he's so cute. He's like A-okay, and Rave teaches him how to do a scary face. He's like, "Grr, I just want to hug him." So he's like, he tells him he's from Chicago and that it has a king and queen. So Rave also explains like, for the places that used to be like sanctuaries for people who would go to wage should be sent to the west. Whoever had the guns and stuff, they became the leaders. So that's how we got the king and queen of Chicago. And since Cosmo was born there, they don't like mammals real well, so they like treat it as servants. And because his mom, who was an animal as well, let him lick the spoon of icing to a cake, the handlers, they were gonna throw him in the zoo where they keep all the mutts and stuff, the failures in a way, yeah. And he managed to escape because of his mom, and now that's how he met the three amigos. I like that name. And he's like, "I want to help you." And Rave is like, he's an animal, he can turn any second, because we find out the reason he doesn't like animals is because his sister's husband turned, and animals that turn feral, they go crazed, and his memory of where they lived was still there, so he attacked the family, and Rave was the only survivor, and that's how Mac found him. But you know, Cosmo comes with them on this trip, and before they take off, Lane meets Chorda again after saving her from a bunch of dogs, and he has her little bag with her with Mac's machete, her dad's machete. That's how everyone knows that she's his daughter. And you know, she's all like, you know, they're cool and friends and stuff, and then he knocks her out. Stranger danger, people, especially if someone looks like a tiger. So she wakes up with all of the dead bodies of people that have gone missing with their hearts ripped out. Chorda, in his crazy mind, believes that if he eats someone's heart who is still humane and caring, he will turn back human. Lane saved his ass, and she's the one. So she manages to get away and unleashes the weavelings. Yet they were in the attic in the house that he took her to. So while they're attacking him, she manages to escape, and turns out the guys and Cosmo were looking for her, so she manages to escape with them, and we don't see Chorda again. And so they continue to drive to Chicago, and when they get there, it's all scary. They have manimal heads on pikes and stuff. It's like the Lannisters times 20 in that scenario with the wall surrounding the compound. So Cosmo and Everson go one way, and Lane and Rafe go another, because they try to look for the item that Dr. Sperling wants, and it turns out it's like a photo of her daughter. Well, when they get there, the house that Dr. Sperling used to live into was torched like a day ago, so Rafe is the one that puts two to two together, and it's like, this just happened. Someone wanted to make sure nothing could be found, and in doing so, they get they get surrounded by Hybors. Half hyena, half boar. Yeah, I'm watching some dogs here, and they just heard someone next door. So yeah, a pack of Hybors plus the handlers. Yeah, the handlers were the ones that almost put Cosmo into the zoo, and they are scary. Like, I would run away. I'm the person that would be like, no, we should stay and fight. No, I'm running. I'm tripping you people. So they get captured, and they meet Omar, who is the head of the handlers, and he was the one that would have put Cosmo in the zoo. And so they managed to trick him, saying that they're there just to hunt a rogue, and he takes them to see the Queen of Chicago, who likes to wear furs of animals, and she's known to in a way making other pharaohs mate with each other because she wants their exotic colors and see what they would look like, and she throws her failures into the zoo. And so Lane, she meets these 4 women who are lion manimals, and you eventually find out that they are the former queens to the king. His version of divorce, unlike King Henry VIII, is to put them in a small cage and let them choose to be infected by either a lion pharaoh or a baboon pharaoh. So there's 4 lions. And Lane and Rafe see Everson, who got caught in some type of initiation, become a handler, and he refused to kill a pharaoh that they caught in the wild, but he does so in self-defense. So now they know that he's got to do it every night until he guts the pharaoh. So Cosmo finds them and says that he can get a message to Everson, and while they're at the party, Cosmo's waving at Lane, and Raph is keeping the people and the queen occupied by telling them of how he loves a little girl who came into the east to find and rescue the wild boy, which was a story that Lane's dad used to tell, and it turns out that Raph is the wild boy, and he was the character that Lane loved the most. So Lane is making her way to Cosmo when the queen comes over, and Cosmo sees her. This is the saddest scene ever. Like, I was crying on this scene. Cosmo goes crazy. Everyone thinks he's finally going feral, and he attacks the queen, rips off her cape that she's wearing. It's a new manimal fur, and the handlers start beating him, and Raph and Lane manages to stop them at the last moment, and he starts saying while he's dying, Mom, that woman was wearing his mama. Like, she said she couldn't get any other manimals to look like her, get the color of her fur, so she finally just decided to. This is like a way of realism here, but still sad. They killed Cosmo right there because he found out that the queen was wearing his mama. It's like, yeah. So for those who love Cosmo, just prepare yourself for this, because I'm already starting to feel the tears coming. So the king shows up. One bad thing leads to another. Chorda is the king. We have a crazy tiger man who won't let anyone have a mirror because he doesn't like the figure that he took when he got attacked in a hunt, and who's going crazy believing a human with a humane heart can heal him. And then Raph attacks him to give Lane some time, and another mammal takes Cosmo's body so he can bury him next to his mama's bones. Chorda says to put Rave in the zoo, and he tells everyone to leave, everyone but him and Lane, because he's gonna finish what he started, which was eat her heart. So Lane managed to trick him into making him believe that if he bites her, that her heart would be ruined. And the queen, who's an eavesdropper, is like, I love you, my sweetie, I shall always love you. And Troy's like, you love me like you love me? Like, yes, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. Bitch, please, you're just trying to save your skin so you don't end up like the other lionesses. But Karma, Chorda, takes out her heart, which gives Lane enough time to run, and she manages to find Omar's body, which has the keys, the main key to all the cages. So she has a plan in her head, letting loose the lionesses so she can save Rave. And in doing so, when she's looking for the body, and she meets up with Everson because everyone knows that she's escaped. And in doing so, she also leads him to where the queen stashes her strains, the one that she uses to make new mutts. And Everson would rather get the strains than save Raph. So it's like, you know, saving humanity here. Pretty sure he would understand. So Lane just leaves him underground and goes back up to the courtyard where the lionesses are, makes a deal with them, and releases them. So, girl power! They start attacking all the handlers, making way for Lane to get to the zoo. But while they're doing that, she gets there. They also release the wild ferals, the very dangerous ones. So they're attacking both the handlers, and she's trying not to get eaten, right? And Lane manages to find Raph. He's all beaten up, bruised, bloodied, and he warns her to run when she gets in the enclosure, but Chorda jumps out of the waterfall and it's like, I knew you would come back. You wouldn't leave him. You're too humane. And so he again tries to eat her heart. Raph fights her off, and he gets hurt real bad. And in doing so, Lane cuts off Chorda's hand because he's about to his heart out. His throat, not his heart. And you know, he's like, my hand! And Lane gets her machete, and when Chorda jumps out, she, like, you know, falls back, and he lands on the blade to the heart. Yeah! Again, karma! So Lane goes to Raph, but then she finds out that his cuts are now infected by Chorda's blood. But he said that Chorda bit him an hour ago, so now he's turning feral. They see a helicopter looking for them. They go to a carousel, which is being surrounded by ferals and handlers, and they're all attacking and stuff, and everyone skirmishes around, and Lane gets a flare, and they're on top of the carousel, fires it up in the air, and the helicopter's coming, and then she looks back at Raph. His eyes are starting to turn gold like a tiger, and like he makes her promise that if she ever hears something about a feral tiger beginning to kill people, send someone to kill him, and she doesn't want him to leave. And then he tells her before leaving this lie I told the queen about how he fell in love with her even though he never met her until recently. That wasn't a lie. And then he disappears into the night. So the lionesses offer Lane to join them, but she's like declines, but they said, whenever you're ready, come find us. So Everson picks her up, and he has all the DNA strands, and they're heading back to Arsenal Island. And that's when they get word that the man, that little girl Gia from the very beginning, the man that she brought to the camp, is Mac. He was there from day one, and they did not know. Couldn't they have checked him? You know, facial identification? Then they could have avoided this whole thing. no, they're like, oh, wounded guy, infirmary, never think about it again. So they get to Arsenal Island, find Lane's dad, the woman who built Titan Wall, which is the name of the wall, and who accidentally released the virus, the little infected animals, Faria, and who is Everson's mama, Elsa Pregine. She's there saying, don't worry, your father will be fine, we'll send him to Iowa City. The blackmailing that was against him, it won't work if we say he was an official working, off the books for the wall, and that the DNA strands that Everson collected was all the strands that they needed to begin making a cure. So yeah, Lane and her daddy, they're on their way to Iowa City, and her dad is like going back to sleep after finding Lane next to him, ending the story that he always told her about her and the wild boy, saying, and they lived happily ever after. And then at the end, Lane says, not yet. Just going back after Raph. So, I give this like a 4.8 out of 5 stars because the beginning felt a little rushed, but then nicely smoothed out. And I also give that percentage to what happened to Raph! So yeah, that's my thoughts on Inhuman. As you can see, I'm showing the book more because I am angry at it. And that my only resource as to know when a next book is coming out is through Goodreads, and all it says is publication 2016. We are in June. When is the next book coming out? Because that one is with Lane going after Raph. So I don't know if it's a duology. If it is, I'm cool with that. If it's a trilogy, even better. So I liked Lane. You could actually see the character growth. She was all germophobic like everyone on the West, but then after her first day and a half in the feral zone, she grew up hair and she did what she had to do to find the item to fetch to save her dad. Raph, he had all these great one-liners and stuff ever since he was following things by the book, but that's because he was a soldier and he wanted to prove himself that he wasn't the son of the woman who basically ended the U.S. And he had his moments, and like you knew there was could be like a triangle. Lane had this little attraction to him, but at the end it was Raph. So yeah, this was a really good book. Cat Falls, perfect. I loved it. I was like on a binge read of Paranormal, and I needed a break, and this was a perfect one. Like futuristic. I wouldn't call it a post-apocalyptic or dystopian, just like slight futuristic. It's really good. This could probably like actually happen one day. So for those who want something like Hunger Games Revolution mix-up, this is your book. This is the best book of selection. So yes, the next book I believe is called Undaunted. The cover is amazing. It's almost like this, except it's blue and green. We like see like a waterfall, and down here is like Lane walking. So we know that she's gonna go look for Raph. I hope he's like one of the few that doesn't go feral until like years later, because there's people who've actually grown up from childhood to adult years. So yeah, Inhuman, Cat Falls, check it out. 4.8% out of a 5-star. You will love it, and can't wait for the next book to come out. My name is Sarah, and bye.